Sunday, June 16th, 2024, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Unfortunately, recently, we're being bombarded with a lot of talk of war. And by that, I mean a real kinetic war. And yes, that is worrying, but my hope is that the worst war we're facing right now will be a war for resources or commodities. And that's what we're going to focus on today. We're not going to focus on the Russians sending a flotilla of warships and submarines to Cuba, only 90 miles away from Florida. No, we're going to focus on something that could actually or is already affecting your pocketbook and your cost of living. Today, we're going to focus more on the non-monetary commodities, and we're going to focus on a commodity that some of you have asked about, and you've also asked about how to get exposure to it. But before we look at a really interesting opportunity in the sector, just wanted to quote Zoltan Pozsar, who recently did an interview with Goldbroker.com, and I'm going to put that interview in the description of this video. He did the interview with Roni Stofferly from Incrementum AG. They come out every year, of course, with the In Gold We Trust report, which I highly recommend you search for that and look at the one for 2024. But what caught my attention in this interview was this, and what Zoltan Pozsar, who's worked for the U.S. Treasury, worked for the New York Fed, and is a top consultant and analyst for the richest families in the world, for central bankers. This is what he said. I think this means all sorts of bad things for a 60-40 portfolio, the standard portfolio construction. At the very least, you need to do something like 20-20-20-40, meaning 20 cash, 20 commodities, 20 bonds, and 40 stocks. So we're going to focus on what he said about commodities here. He said, commodities, I think, are equally important because, as I said, we are underinvested. And before I continue here, I just wanted to show you how underinvested these family offices are. And family offices, they have the most wealth. So you can see they've got 1% of their wealth in commodities, according to UBS Global Family Office Report 2024. So back to Zoltan. Commodities are fundamentally tight. Geopolitics is messing up commodities, and resource nationalism is on the rise. Even if the supply is there, it's going to come with special terms attached. That's going to mean higher prices, not lower. So what we're going to look at now then is this opportunity. And as I said, many of you have asked me before, what do you think of uranium? Where could we find an opportunity in uranium? And yeah, nuclear energy and uranium are an alternative, especially in this green agenda world, climate change world. And it doesn't matter what you think about it, and if you agree with it or not. I think the world is moving towards alternative and cleaner energy. And uranium as well has been in a massive bull market since late 2016, when the spot price traded just below $20. I think now we're in the 90s. Yes, there's a long-term price as well that has been going up, not as much as the spot. But I would say if you are an individual that's looking for exposure and major upside potential in the uranium mining sector, you will want to listen to this. It's arguably one of the most compelling opportunities in the sector. And before we look further into this opportunity, just wanted to say that recently President Biden signed a bipartisan bill to ban Russian imports of enriched uranium. Yes, the US still imports 20% of its nuclear fuel from Russia's state-owned company, Rosatom. And by January 2028, all imports will have been phased out. And as far as the US is concerned, the US is the biggest civil consumer of uranium. Until 2023, it imported not just from the Russians, but also from countries that are closely allied to Russia, old Soviet satellite nations. And almost 20% of US electricity is generated by nuclear energy. So finding alternative sources in friendly jurisdictions is now a must. And why? Well, because globalization, free trade, and this has been happening not just in the current administration, even during the previous administration. We saw the trade wars with China start. And yeah, so globalization, free trade are a thing of the past, unfortunately. The world is going multipolar. But Canada, on the other hand, is an important part of this puzzle because it's a friendly nation to the United States and Western Europe. And it's especially important as far as uranium is concerned. So the company we're going to look at today is called Atha Energy, and its ticker in the US is SASKF. And before we delve deeper into this opportunity, I'd like to thank Atha Energy for partnering with my channel. And we've looked at some other energy companies in the past, about 2 years ago. One that has done really well is UEC, or Uranium Energy Corporation. And I think Atha Energy has just as much potential as UEC had. So back to Atha Energy, and Atha Energy is very unique because there's never really been a company quite like Atha Energy, and it will be very hard to copy or replicate it. And you might be asking why. Well, we're going to go through the whys here. First reason is that they have the largest land position in the uranium space. They have over 8 million acres of exploration property across the Athabasca Basin, the Thelon Basin, and the Central Mineral Belt of Labrador. A little bit about more about Athabasca Basin. Well, that's considered the Saudi Arabia of uranium, and the Thelon Basin is considered the new Athabasca, pretty much like Athabasca was 50 years ago. So that's the first point about Atha Energy. So how come it's in such a good position in terms of the land position? Well, it came out of a crisis, and the crisis was Fukushima, of course, in 2011. And back then, very few people after the Fukushima incident really wanted to know about prospecting uranium. But there are two guys, Matthew Mason and Timothy Young, who did a lot of prospecting, and they built a portfolio. They staked all these properties, and these properties now are part of Atha Energy. And some of the stakes that they claimed, they went on to sell it to two companies, actually, that are now worth about $5 billion. So about 30 times what Atha is worth right now. So third reason why Atha Energy is a unique company that can't be replicated in this sector. Well, they have a market cap of $137 million, and they have a $45 million cash position with no debt, which is orders of magnitude higher than any other small cap uranium stock. This massive cash position is important because you need a lot of money in exploration because it's expensive and you need to afford to make mistakes. So the fourth and very important reason why Atha Energy is such a unique company is that they've just started drilling at Angulac, which is one of the properties they've just acquired through a merger. And yeah, the CEO, Troy Boisjoli, thinks it has huge potential. And why? Well, because there was some drilling done at Angulac from 2011 to 2013, and then they stopped it because of what happened to the industry because of Fukushima. But they found 43 million pounds of inferred uranium resources there. So yeah, this Angelac property alone can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And as I said, they've just started drilling in the beginning of June, and they're going to be drilling for the next few months. They're also going to start drilling at their Gemini or GMZ property in the Athabasca Basin from the end of July onward until the end of the fall. And this is where that 45 million cash position is so important. They're going to be spending virtually half of that, 22 million, on its drilling program this year. And that's going to generate a lot of information for the market. And that's where the opportunity comes for Atha Energy stock. Atha has spent about a year building up the operation, and now they have just kicked off drilling. And they've also been added recently to the Sprott Junior Uranium Miners ETF. And one of the analysts as well has got a price target of $3. And as I said, the Angelac property that and some other properties, they were part of a merger earlier this year with 92 Energy and Latitude Uranium. And that has helped combine an asset base that is unparalleled in the uranium space. I just want you to listen to what the CEO said recently about their goals and what they're looking to really create at Atha Energy.
Yeah, the thesis is holding. The thesis is that we're going to define tier one targets across the largest land position in the best uranium jurisdiction in the world. We invested significantly in that in 2023 and continue to invest in that in the largest geophysical survey ever done. In parallel to that and important, we're also compiling a significant amount of data from government databases and local databases into layers that then add on to the targeting approach. So you define geophysical targets, then you layer on geochemical targets. And we've defined hundreds of kilometers of EM corridors along the projects that we've processed to date. We've also defined dozens of targets. And when I say tier one targets, what I'm talking about are geophysical anomalies with a geochemical overlay, and with indications that there's uranium in the system. To give you an example, that's how Key Lake was found. That's how MacArthur River is found. That's how Rabbit Lake was found. That's how Triple R and Arrow were found. And we're building up a significant portfolio of targets with that profile: geophysical anomaly, geochemical overlay.
So yeah, the CEO and the management as well. They've worked for the largest uranium companies like Cameco and Next Gen Energy. The CEO, Troy Boisjoli, he's been responsible for finding an extra 200 million pounds of uranium in his previous positions in the industry. So he's got a knack for finding a lot of uranium. And added to that, of course, they've got the largest land package in the uranium industry, 8 million acres, and they still have a lot of cash to drill and find a lot of resources. So to conclude here, first of all, I'd like to let you know that their ticker again in the US is SASKF, Atha Energy. The other thing I would say is this is not financial advice. This is just me letting you know of an opportunity that I think is really interesting in the uranium mining sector or uranium sector. And some of you that are interested in getting exposure to uranium, I think this might fit the bill. So a final word about Atha Energy. Well, I think it's in a unique position to profit from this uranium bull market, as its metrics are exceptional compared to other small cap uranium companies. And if you want to find out more, just go to the description of this video and click on the link. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good rest of the weekend. Take care. Bye.